What if the world was a single nation and spoke only one language? For thousands of years, humanity has been divided by borders, flags, and the endless tower of languages. From the whispers of ancient tribes to the roaring speeches of empires, words shaped our world. Yet, they also fractured it. Imagine, just for a moment, that one day it all changed. The map of Earth redrawn into a single state. No lines, no borders, no competing nations. And every voice, from the crowded streets of New York to the quiet villages of the Himalayas, spoke the same tongue. One world, one government, one language. It feels like a dream, the end of war, the birth of unity. But would such a dream bring peace or carve new scars upon humanity? This is the story of a world that became one, where difference disappeared, and with it, something deeper began to vanish as well. At first, it was celebrated as humanity's greatest achievement. Leaders gathered beneath a single banner in what was called the Global Accord of 2137. The agreement dissolved every nation and replaced them with a single governing council, elected from all corners of the earth. War, for the first time in history, seemed to vanish overnight. The key to this unification was lingua mundi, the universal language created not from dominance, but from synthesis. Linguists from across the globe worked for decades, blending sounds, symbols, and meanings into a tongue that every human could learn in months. It was simple, efficient, and precise. Within a generation, all children learned only lingua mundi in schools. Ancient languages were preserved in archives, but daily life flowed with a single sound. With one voice, humanity's gears turned faster than ever. No more lost translations in science, no misunderstandings in diplomacy, no mistrust in trade. Doctors in Africa could instantly share research with colleagues in Japan. Farmers in Brazil could negotiate with engineers in India without a single pause. The one state invested heavily in infrastructure, high-speed transit that connected continents, energy grids that spanned oceans, and communication systems that reached every village. Poverty shrank, disease was eradicated faster, and space exploration flourished. Mars was not just a dream. It became a project for all humanity. People cheered in the streets. They sang songs not of nations, but of Earth itself. They called it the Golden Beginning. And yet, in the shadows of this perfect harmony, something subtle began to disappear. The market stalls no longer smelled of the same spices described in old dialects. The folk songs of Siberia were no longer sung in their original rhythm. A grandmother's lullaby, once rich with the sound of heritage, now sounded like every other lullaby in the world. Unity was rising, but diversity was fading. The middle years of the one world were called humanity's golden age. Technology leaped centuries ahead in just decades. Diseases that had once terrorized billions, cancer, Alzheimer's, even aging itself, were slowed, managed, sometimes cured. Humanity reached the moons of Jupiter. Colonies began to dot Mars and Europa. All of this was possible because knowledge flowed seamlessly. A teenager in Nairobi could collaborate on a physics problem with another in Buenos Aires, both speaking lingua mundi. Miscommunication was extinct. But beneath this harmony, a restlessness grew. Art began to feel strangely empty. Music no longer carried the soul of cultures, but the universal beat of a single algorithm. Stories began to echo each other, as if every writer drank from the same well. The richness of human imagination had been tied to difference, to the clash of languages, traditions, and worldviews. Now everything sounded the same. In hidden corners, small groups clung to their lost identities. In the forests of Finland, Families whispered the old songs in secret. In deserts of North Africa, nomads still told stories in languages outlawed in public. To the one state, they were anomalies. To themselves, they were the last guardians of humanity's soul. Conflicts began to spark. They weren't wars of nations, but of memory versus order. Protesters demanded the right to teach their children more than lingua mundi. They asked for festivals, traditions, differences. The council dismissed them, claiming, "Difference is division. Division is danger." The Golden Age shone brilliantly on the surface, but in its glow, the cracks deepened. By the 3rd century of the one state, cracks turned into fractures. The government, once hailed as humanity's savior, grew strict. Surveillance expanded. Every word spoken was monitored for linguistic deviation. Even private families who whispered in old dialects were punished. The council believed it was protecting peace, but in truth, it was strangling diversity. Then came the whisper revolution. It began quietly in underground networks. Songs were sung in old tongues again. Hidden recordings spread across the net. Children taught secret words by their grandparents. What began as rebellion of culture soon became rebellion of identity. One night, in a city once called Istanbul, protesters filled the streets, chanting in over 20 different languages at once. The chaos was beautiful. The sound shook the world. It was the first time in centuries that the one state had faced open defiance. The council responded with silence, a blackout. Entire regions were cut from the network. Food distribution slowed, medicine withheld, satellites blocked. The message was clear: unity or nothing. But something irreversible had already happened. People remembered what it felt like to be different, to belong to something more than a single flag. They began to ask, what is peace without freedom? What is unity without diversity? The one state teetered. Mars colonies declared independence. On Earth, the old names of cities returned in whispers: Kyoto, Cairo, Lagos, Berlin. Humanity stood at the edge of division once again, not because of hatred, but because of the desperate need to be human. And so, the dream of one world, one nation, one language, began to unravel. What was meant to erase conflict had also erased identity. What was meant to bring peace had also brought silence. Perhaps unity, the people realized, was never about sameness. True unity lies in the harmony of difference, the music of many voices, not the monotony of one. The one state fell, slowly but surely, not to war, but to memory. And as the voices of humanity rose again in 1,000 languages, the earth became noisy, chaotic, alive. The question remains, if we ever face the choice again, will we pick the safety of one voice or the beauty of many? Would a single world and one language bring peace or destroy what makes us human? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more thought-provoking stories.